you are here. We are considering this co-creation at its best. You are knowing what you are wanting. Still. Again. More. You're ready. What do you want?
First of all, I want to thank you for being in our life.
Yeah. We are all in this together,
yeah.
aren't we? Yeah.
1 year now, being with you changed our life. Everything is better, every day better and better and better.
That's the way.
Although there are the dark times.
Good.
Yeah. We have one daughter, 6.5 years old. And usually when I'm in bad mood, there are cases in our work which change our feelings. Thinking her face, how much sweet it is, it's one way to go away of not good mood. But what is strange that the same girl takes me out of good feelings many times. There are times when I want to take her from the ear, from the hair. Yeah.
She feels the same about you.
We try to be okay with her, to make our best, but she's a strong character which, being 6.5 years old, she's in vortex usually. She takes everything she wants. But for us, it's a little difficult to accept that she can consume all day sweets. If we don't give her, she will find a way to find it.
We like the way you began by acknowledging that you're here in a contrasting environment that is not always the same, which means you have to steady yourself, and not just steady yourself in the moment when something happens that gets your attention and sets you off balance, but you have to prepave that. You have to be ready for it in advance. Be aware that you are the creator of your own reality, and so is everyone else, and then just do your best to maintain your balance. We really want to say to you, and we really want you to hear this, that those who give you the most opportunity to find your own balance anyway are really the greatest beneficiaries to you of all of those who you will interact with, because those who are easy, you just have to observe them and have a knee-jerk response to what feels good, and you can become very complacent about your ability, about your constant renewed ability to maintain your own vibrational frequency. And so very often you think that those that are always easy to get along with and those that don't make you have to find your balance, that you just like to surround yourself with more of those. But we promise you, you would become very complacent in life, and your vortex would not find as much growth or expansion as a result of it. And so we encourage you to just take it all, but make a decision that you're going to be ready for what comes. The thing that happens most often, we touched on this a little bit yesterday, is that when you are waiting for an emotion, most of you are not really deliberately increasing the momentum of a positive emotion. You are more or less just waiting for life to come to you and then for an emotion to erupt within you. And sometimes when the emotion comes, it's a really good feeling one, and sometimes when the emotion comes, it's not so good feeling, and then is when you choose to respond. Well, we want that to not be when you respond, although we understand why it is. But rather than having so much response to momentum that you haven't been paying attention to, imagine how delicious it is to pay attention to the momentum, to guide it deliberately, to parlay your own vibration into higher and higher and higher frequency, so that you have the security and the stability of being coupled with your inner being more of the time. And then as life comes to you, as it will continue to do, you're ready for it, so that your responses are measured and steady and sure, so that you present yourself as a stable influence, so that you don't give anyone, no matter how precious they are to you, you don't give anyone the impression that you are here to respond to them. Instead, you've responded to a higher power, so to speak. You've responded to the true nature of your being. So you stand in stability. And when you stand in stability, rather than reacting to this and reacting to that and reacting to that and reacting to that, those around you will discover, they will learn how to behave with you, not because you are saying to them, you must not do that or you must do that, but because you are so steady in the vibrational frequency that you offer, that if they are of a different mind in a particular moment, they will gravitate someplace else. And if they are of a similar mind in a particular moment, they will gravitate to you for full, wonderful, cooperative co-creation. You see, the managing of all relationships is really something that we would like you all to forget about altogether. And we would like you to focus upon managing your relationship with your source, with your own clarity, with your own being. And then you can dance so beautifully with everyone else. Helpful?
Full helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough?
I think yes.
We think so.
Yeah. Thanks for everything.
Really good. Really good. Really good.
Good afternoon.
It is.
Yesterday you mentioned that if things that have yet to manifest have more potential than those that have already manifested. I believe that was the quote.
Well, what's already manifested, what is, has already had its growth spurt. It's sort of like gum you've chewed all the flavor out of. But the true satisfaction in life is the focus and therefore allowance and to some extent nurturing of what is still becoming.
My wife and I built a beautiful place that we with gardens and pool and just a wonderful environment, and we've just have so much appreciation for the wildlife it attracts and just the beauty of it. And so this is something we manifested, and we just take such great joy in that. I was just wondering, to me, the appreciation of that is so beneficial to us.
Of course it is. It's beneficial to you, and it's beneficial to the creation itself. No creation is ever complete, and everything can get better and better and better and better. But do you remember when it was in the process of becoming? Do you remember the momentum of that? And even though there were some frustrating moments, do you remember the way the momentum of that felt? And that's what we're talking about. New, exhilarating ideas. We're not saying that you have to build another house and another house and another house and another house. We don't mean it like that. But it is of great advantage to you to have a new something always that you are in the process of allowing to become. Because you know yourself. Esther remembers one of the first things that they built on their 40 acres in Texas was a tree house. One day, Jerry walked out and he found 6 trees that were standing in a circle, and he said, this would be a really good spot for a tree house. And Esther said, she couldn't even imagine it. The trees were far apart and the trees were really big. And he said, well, we won't hook it to the trees. We won't nail anything to a tree. We'll just put it in the center. It will be freestanding. And so they thought about it, and he drew a sort of picture of it, and he said, wouldn't it be fun if it had 6 sides? And so they thought about it, and before long they had the first thing they did was take their own car and go get a big tall ladder and bring it from one place to the property and climb way up in the tree to see what it would be like to be up in the tree. And then they ordered some very long poles, 40-foot poles that were delivered with a crane. And Esther maybe has never had a more exciting day than that day. The day the big crane lowered those big poles and they were set into the ground, and the beginning of the treehouse. And then she began noticing that the men who were building the treehouse, they'd been working with Jerry and Esther for a while. They'd finished their house and they'd worked on some other buildings. And so they were well known to Jerry and Esther. And Jerry and Esther began to notice that this treehouse was taking a very long time, because these boys were savoring the process of the treehouse. And the reason was because they were having to figure so much of it out as they went. It didn't really have a blueprint. It just had an idea. It just had some articulation of words and feelings that Jerry and Esther had offered. And so they built a floor, and Esther stood and looked up at the floor, and then she said, how much higher can we go? And Jerry said, well, we can put another floor on it. And so they put another floor on it. And then they said, well, why don't we enclose this so that we can be in it no matter what the weather is? And so then they ordered big glasses, and they closed that part in. And then Esther is still climbing the construction ladder, and she's hoping for a zip line. And Jerry says, we'll build some switchbacks. And Esther says, oh no, I like the rope ladder. And Jerry says, I don't think you're going to want to go up there with the rope ladder and your sandwich and your computer and your telephone. But the process of building the treehouse was exhilarating. And then one day it was finished. And while it was delightful, and while Esther loves every minute that she spends in it, the time of the treehouse was the construction of the treehouse. It was the idea of it. It was the dream of it. It was the reason for it. It was the reason for the attraction of all of those. It was the energy of those who were involved in the process of it, in other words. And Jerry said, the longer it takes to build it, the longer it will last. And Esther said, you mean because they will build it really well? And Jerry said, no, the more they think about it before it's finished, the